We all know the feeling, like the bass player finishes up their solo and then they give you the look and then everybody stops playing and it's all on you to play a multiple chorus solo and you're just like a deer in the headlights. So you just start soloing, you just let whatever comes out come out, and it's not what you want it to be. It's like, oh, I use some triplets, or I try to squeeze some rudiments in there, but they don't come out right, or these ideas that I worked on at home, they're just not coming out, they're locked behind bars. Or I play like the melody, but that just seems too simplistic, and so I try to branch into some other things, but I just keep playing the same ideas over and over again, and it's just not what you want to be. Now, here's the thing. You don't need me to tell you how to play the drums. You've been playing drums for your whole life. You can play grooves, but you're in a phase where you're playing something different. It's a new skill. You're soloing now. It's a whole different way of thinking. And the main thing that you got to figure out to really be able to do this confidently for multiple choruses, for a whole chorus, any of that stuff, is you need to learn phrasing. What the heck is phrasing, okay? So in jazz music, there's like a couple of meanings for it, okay? I'll use Spanish as an analogy if you're learning a language, because jazz music, it's a language, right? So the first meaning of phrasing is like if you were learning Spanish and you want to make sure you get the accent right. You know, it always sounds weird if somebody who mainly speaks English, they start speaking Spanish and they don't pronounce things correctly, okay? And so in jazz music, that's like the touch, that's do I put the accents in the right place? Does my time feel right? Like that's the first kind of phrasing. It's kind of your accent, okay? The second kind of phrasing that we're going to talk about mostly today is, it's more like if you were learning Spanish and you were trying to figure out like the grammar, right? How do I make a sentence? It's one thing to know a couple words in Spanish, but how do I put them together in a way that actually makes sense? And in jazz music, that kind of phrasing is like, how many bars did I play? Was there a beginning and an end to these ideas? Or did I just kind of ramble out a whole bunch of stuff? Can people hear where I am in the form? Can I hear where I am in the form? Okay? And for a lot of people, if they're getting lost in the form, it's probably because you haven't worked on phrasing yet. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to talk about how to put your ideas together in a way that makes sense and makes it so that you can make it through a full chorus or multiple choruses of solo. So let's talk about how to play a 16 bar solo. That would be like one chorus over a tune like Doxy, okay? So you might be tempted at first to like try to count every single bar, like just play your solo, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, just count all the way up to 16. But that's just way too much thinking. It's going to make it really overwhelming. Your ideas are going to come out choppy. And like, you want to be thinking about music while you're playing, not a bunch of numbers, right? We're not doing spreadsheets here. So really what we need to do is find a way to feel how long our phrases are without thinking. Just take all of the thinking out of it so that we can relax and just feel, right? We're playing music. It's not thinking, it's feeling. So I'll tell you right now, it is a lot easier to feel a 2-bar phrase than it is to feel a 16-bar phrase, especially if you're just starting. So let's start by doing that. Start by just playing a 2-bar phrase. 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? A lot of you have to stop here, okay? Because you might not have ever practiced phrasing before. You need to make sure that you get that right. Okay, it's gonna feel really tempting to be like, oh, 2-bar phrase, oh, that's easy, I'm just gonna do it. Or you're gonna try to count, right? No. We need to play a 2-bar phrase and then make sure we actually did that correctly. Right? So probably what you're gonna have to do is either put on a metronome and put the click to where it's every other bar, right? And make sure that you land on the right beat. Or just record yourself. Just take out your iPhone, put it right here, and just record yourself playing that phrase so that you make sure, okay, did I actually play a 2-bar phrase? Because we need to build the muscle memory of what a 2-bar phrase feels like, okay? So start with your 2-bar phrase. Once you're good at that, you can get that every single time and it's coming out consistently, then we're gonna start to stitch these together. So play a 2-bar phrase, Lil Pause, and then play another 2-bar phrase. Okay, cool. So that little pause is really important because here's the thing about learning new skills is our brain can only handle so much information at a time, and then it starts to like clump things together and put it on autopilot. So when you're doing a new skill like this, If you try to just go 4 bars at a time, you're probably going to get lost in that because it's too much information. We need to be able to do the autopilot of 2 bars, then the little break lets our brain kind of recharge, and then the autopilot of another 2 bars. Okay? So let's do that again. Okay? Great. Once you've got that, your brain is getting better now at doing this routine, right? 2, break, 2. And then we can make that routine smaller, okay? So now I'm going to do it without even taking a pause. I'm just going to go 2 bars, another 2 bars. Right? Boom. Because we strengthened the brain connections of doing those 2 bars and we got more and more comfortable at it, when we smash it together, our brain doesn't have to think as much, so we can actually do those 2 bars and we don't have to count 4 whole bars, which would be a lot of thinking. We can just say 2 and 2. Boom. Right? Boom. I got 4 bars now. So 2 groups of 2. Great. So now that you've built that up, you have the ability to play a 2-bar phrase without thinking, and you have the ability to put 2 2-bar phrases back to back. Okay? Now what we need to do is, well, we wanted to play a 16-bar solo. Right? So that's 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. It's 2 times 8. It's 16, right? So I need to be able to keep track of how many 2-bar phrases that I've played and get all the way up to 16, okay? So this is going to be another skill. It's the skill of counting your 2-bar phrases. I know I said we're going to count, but we're counting bigger things now, so it's actually less brain power. So I'm going to play 4 2-bar phrases, and I'm going to say a number at the beginning of each 2-bar phrase, like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So look, now I just counted to 4, but I played 4 2-bar phrases. That's an 8-bar phrase. And I didn't have to go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Right? I like almost can't even do that because it's too much thinking. I don't want to have to count that much. I want to count as little as possible. And just spoiler alert, once we get done with this, you're going to be able to actually feel these phrases. You're going to be able to feel what a 2, 4, 8, 16-bar phrase feels like. That way you can actually think about other things, interacting or listening to yourself, whatever it is, okay? And just by the way, phrasing is just one little bucket of this whole jazz drumming thing. If you're trying to figure this out, you're going to need to get the phrasing and you got to get it dialed in so much that you can just relax and not think about it. But then you need to have ideas to put in that phrasing. It's like if you're learning Spanish, you need a big vocabulary. You're going to need to make sure that you can execute those ideas, that you have really good technique and you have a really good feel so people hear it and they say, oh, that's a jazz drummer. That's outside of the scope of this video. That's like all the things you're going to need to work on. We do work on all of those things with my students, okay? So if you're interested in working deeper together, there should be some links in the description where you can figure out how to get in touch with me, okay? Now that we're able to put multiple phrases in order and we're able to count how many, all we got to do to play a 16-bar solo is play 8 phrases, okay? So I'm going to do that. I'm going to count to 8 every 2-bar phrase. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom! That's a 16-bar solo. All I had to do was count to 8. Right? Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. Oh my gosh. So much less thinking. Now, here's the thing. I don't even want to count to 8 when I play a solo. But what I'm doing when I do this is I'm ingraining this way of thinking. This like multi-level chess, right? It's like I'm playing chess at level 1, which is actually what am I playing? And then I'm playing at level 2, which is like how many bars am I playing? And part of being a jazz musician is handling all these different levels all at once. You need to be able to know what level to think at and shift between them fluidly so that everything comes out of you smoothly, okay? And what we're doing here is we're just training that ability so that eventually you can just go and say, I'm just gonna play a 16-bar solo and I just know what that feels like, right? So then you take away all the counting, you take away all the 2-bar phrases, and you just play 16 bars and just trust yourself. Check if it works, right? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now, a couple of things to remember when you're working on this. When you're practicing phrasing, keep your vocabulary simple, okay? I see a lot of drummers, when they're working on this, they try to play really complex ideas while they're counting the phrasing, and that's just too much processing power. Like, our brains are like computers. If you try to get it to, do a whole bunch of things all at once, it's gonna get overwhelmed and things are gonna get choppy. It's not gonna come out smooth, okay? So while you're practicing phrasing, just let yourself practice phrasing. Keep your ideas really, really simple. Save the ideas for later so that you can really ingrain that phrasing, okay? The other thing is don't skip steps. Like, so many of my students, when they first try this, what they want to do is they can go, oh, I can play 2 bars, I can play 16 bars. Wait, hold on, we didn't even practice playing two-bar phrases consecutively, right? If you just skip all the steps, sometimes it'll work and you'll get rewarded for that, but that's dangerous because it might make it so you have bad foundations. It might make it so you can't do 16 bars consistently, so you can't do 4 or 8 bars consistently. So it's far better to really take your time, get every single step correctly before you start trying to do the whole thing together, okay? And once you feel comfortable doing all that, try it without thinking. The point of building all these habits and really going step by step with all of this is so that it can just be muscle memory, right? You don't think about brushing your teeth. We want to make phrasing so easy that it's as easy as brushing your teeth, that it just comes out of you naturally so that you can be in the moment, so that you can focus on the music, you can focus on the musicians around you, the audience, stuff like that, rather than having to just hold on for dear life just to get through a solo. And I promise you, if you do go through all of these steps, you will feel the phrasing, and then you're going to have to just trust yourself to not count, to just see if it can come out of you. That's when you can start thinking about ideas and stuff like that again, okay? So if you found this video interesting and helpful, I made another video that is really about the full journey of going from a drummer who plays another style of music to I'm a jazz drummer, and it'll put this idea in context of when you need to learn this and how to proceed from there. So I hope you enjoyed this. See you next time.